All right, everybody, welcome to the Saturday version of the Paranormal Portal. Hope you guys are doing great, having a wonderful weekend and all. Thank you so much for joining us here on the show. Hopefully we've put together a lot of fun-filled entertainment for you, but if not, I don't know what to tell you. I do the best I can, by God, and I'm thrilled to have all of you with us as we're going through this 2-hour commercial-free Paranormal Portal. So we are not going to do commercials tonight. We might do a top of the hour break just to go powder our noses and stuff, but no, that sounds like a reference to cocaine, doesn't it? I didn't mean it like that at all. It's just an old figure of speech, run into the loo, I guess, is what I was trying to say, but not illegal drug use. Although sometimes you might swear I'm on something, but no, this is just the natural version of me. I'm just this broken. So, I guess before we go any further, I should welcome my eldest child, the big branch on my personal family tree. Mr. Sheldon Thomas is here. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, and I am loving this new addition to the show, actually, what is posted on screen as the paranormal detector. I'm really liking that.
Yeah, it's really cool. We've been using it for the last few shows and kind of got some neat detections. Actually, last Saturday night, a week ago today, as a matter of fact, I for the first time, there was a detection. And, of course, this is the Ghost Radar. I suppose this is a perfect segue to talk about it. On your screen, you're seeing this Ghost Radar. Now, here's the thing. Ghost radars in and of themselves are probably not real solid indicators of paranormal activity, but they are an indicator of an EM field or an irregularity. And the thing with magnetometers, which is what your computer, your phone, your tablets, your laptop, whatever, uses, is called a magnetometer. That's how it communicates with the wireless access point. But what has been known for a long time in universities is that you can actually use magnetometers on these wireless devices to actively and accurately map homes. And so there was a university that actually built an algorithm that would use people's wireless to basically give a map of the inside of the house and where people are in it. And that's kind of freaky all by itself.
Whoa.
But that is a true story. I used to work in IT, and I remember reading about that. I was like, oh my God, that's creepy. But anyway, the magnetometer in these devices is a very narrow band. It's not quite as robust as a lot of like other EM detectors that are used in ghost investigations, but it may give indications of anomalies and stuff. Now, what happened last Saturday, just to kind of spell it out for you, this bar is where if you see fluctuations in this top bar here, that's going to mean there is an abnormality detected. This waveform should be pretty much straight across, and it is, and usually is. But you'll see these fluctuations, and you'll see dots appear on the screen. Now, the color of the dots is important because light yellow, green maybe it's green is the lightest, then yellow is a little more intense, and then red. Red is supposed to be a pretty significant EM presence or anomaly. And so if you see red on that screen, it's supposed to be something pretty impressive. Now, the way this is working is this horizontal line right down the middle is basically my desk and me. I'm sitting right here, like as the computer tower is literally right next to my legs down below this desk. So I'm basically right here. But if you see things appear on the top half, that's actually past my monitors, past the camera, or in that area of the room, which is absolutely everything over there is turned off, and there shouldn't be any EM fields generated over there. Now, if it appears on the bottom half of the screen, it should be on my side in this area, or, potentially even in Don's chair's area over there. But that's what you're looking at. Now, on Saturday, what happened was if it's a red field, it'll also make this hissing, really creepy hissing sound. And all I can say is it kind of reminds me of like parcel tongue on Harry Potter. But I heard that go off last Saturday, and I looked and I said, well, there's nothing on the radar. And I said, well, maybe that means it's right in the middle, which means it's right on top of me. And then it went on for a few more minutes, and I realized the bumpers weren't coming on, which is the commercial music that we get from the network. And I'm like, why aren't the bumpers coming on? And then I looked, and Skype had actually shut itself off, which in the 6 years of doing this show has never happened. Never happened. Never has Skype just turned itself off. So that was interesting. Does that mean for sure it was paranormal? No. But it is a weird series of events that might be indicative of paranormal activity. Now, ghost radars like this, I don't think should be used exclusively by themselves to detect activity. I just don't think you can depend on them that much, but they can certainly be another tool in your toolbox of other things that may show paranormal activity. But it's no one device should be relied on independently and exclusively. You should always have several things going up if you're doing a serious investigation. This is half-hearted because I just have weird things happening in the studio, and I thought it'd be neat to see if things pop up on here throughout the course of the show. And so far, in every show that we've done, at least at least one point during the 2-hour shows, some anomaly has popped up on there. Now, I don't know. Could that mean something? Maybe, but not conclusively. So I don't ever want to give the impression like, I got this ghost radar. We're haunted here. Obviously, look at all the dots. I'm never trying to give you guys that, but I just thought it'd be kind of fun. And it's something that we can, look at together and just see what happens. Now, this thing also has a word generator, and last night it called me a pansy. Seriously, the word pansy came up, and then later on Charles, and then later on coffee. I don't know. Now, I've never had a lot of faith in the word generator because, honestly, it never has had any real relevance to what I'm talking about, what I'm doing. Sometimes we've had, in the course of using it on the shows, some word will pop up that'll be directly related to what I was talking about, but it's very rare, and I think it's probably more coincidence. Something is triggering that in the EM field. It's triggering something is triggering that the word to get spit out, but I don't have a lot of faith in the accuracy of the actual word. So just take it or leave it. But it called you pansy yesterday. Yeah, exactly, John. That's what I just was talking about. And I don't think I'm a pansy, but maybe I am. I don't know. But anyway, that's the background on this. So that's what you're seeing on your screen, and you'll notice that it's on most every screen. I've put it up there. Even during breaks, like if we hit a break, it should be up on the break screens as well. At least 2 of the 3. I don't know if I did it on all 3 of them yet, but anyway, you'll see it there, and you can help watch along with me. Now, it won't always alarm, so I won't always go on. But if you see a dot appear on that screen, on the radar here, or if you see squiggles appear, let me know. We'll just see what's going on. Okay, so as we're commercial free, we don't have any clock to be ruled by for tonight, which is nice because I don't mind. I enjoy being a part of the network and broadcasting over there because that's where the show started. But I do enjoy these commercial free nights because I think, it can be a real hindrance to trying to read stories and stuff and have to fight the clock to get everything in or have to chop a story in half because I overran the break time or something. So I like doing these Saturday nights commercial free as long as Sheldon's here. If I'm alone, it's okay to run the commercials. But anyway, I guess at this point, we should probably check out some news. What do you say, Sheldon?
Say it's a perfect place to start.
Perfect place to start, and it's the place we always start. So let's get to the news. Disco gambling. Amen, Nate. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paranormal Portal News Desk. I'll be your anchor tonight, and Sheldon will be the co-anchor. And we're going to dive into some news and see what the hell I pulled up for your enjoyment tonight. There was only a couple brand new ones tonight, so we're going to be fishing through the archives. Also, let me just put this out there. If anybody knows of another good news site, let me know, because I've nearly burned through all the archives on Unexplained Dutch Mysteries now.
No. So
we're running out of stuff to cover for the news. Either that or the news is going to get to be a lot shorter part of the show. I only got one news story for you. All right, so the first story up tonight is coming from unexplained-mysteries.com, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys support this site. I really do love this site. They do a hell of a job. It's always updated and current, and they do an amazing job. So go over there and check it out. But the first story tonight from March 5th, 2023, which is tomorrow, apparently. No, I think that just says that Unexplained Mysteries must be over in Europe or something, but I don't know where they're at, but they do a hell of a job. So support what they're doing. And let's check out the first article, 5 discoveries that upended what we knew about in Egyptian mummification. Wow. Well, that must have slapped those scientists right in the nose. We know. Well, no, you don't. All right, let's find out what they didn't know. Biomedical Egyptologist Jennifer Metcalf takes a look at how our understanding of mummification this sounds long, has changed over the years. Centuries after the first golden coffins were taken to Europe, ancient Egyptian mummies still vividly capture people's imaginations. Perhaps we're awed by the grandeur of the rituals and tradition, but new discoveries keep challenging scientists' perceptions of these ancient rites. As a biomedical Egyptologist, it's like, I'd never even heard of that before today. So I was today old when I learned this, Sheldon. I study mummies to learn about the life in ancient populations. Over the last 10 years, I've seen a big change in our understanding of how, why, and when mummies were created. And this has mostly been driven by new scientific discoveries. Here are 5 of the most important ones that have changed what we know about this ancient process. Yeah, I think I can just read the headings, I guess, most of all. At the end, I want to get into something that I found absolutely fascinating. And he's a gentleman that'll be appearing on a future episode of the Paranormal Portal podcast, the one that talked about this on the show before, and I was blown away. I didn't know. Mummification is older than archaeologists imagined. For decades, the oldest known mummies came from the Old Kingdom era, about 2500 to 2100 BC. Around the time Egyptians started using coffins more. These mummies are rare, but they show signs of being specially prepared by embalmers. Mummies from before the Old Kingdom period were thought to have been created naturally by burying bodies in graves cut into the hot, dry sand. Scientists thought embalming was developed to keep bodies preserved inside of coffins. But chemical tests published in 2014 and 2018 showed that resins and perfumes were already being used to help preserve the skin of the dead over 6,000 years ago, before coffins were common and long before the Old Kingdom era. Well, there you go. So there was a lot of sophistication even prior to that, which I think is important to note because, what if the pyramids are actually older than the Old Kingdom, which I think is probably pretty likely. Number 2, the recipe varied across of Egypt. Well, that doesn't surprise me. It's like making potato salad. You can go anywhere in the U.S. and there's a different recipe. Hot, cold, sweet, sour, bitter. It's like anything. Spaghetti, for God's sakes. Pizza. There's New York pizza. There's deep dish. There's other variations. So in Chicago. But number 3, the ancient accounts were not always reliable. I'm going to read this one. It says, the information we have about mummification comes mostly from 2 ancient Greek writers, Herodotus and Diodorus Siculus. Sounds like a disease. They describe these steps of mummification, such as using a hook to remove the brain through the nose. And they also tell us the heart was left in the body because it was thought to be important in the afterlife. Scientific studies using CT scanning have now shown that the rules of mummification were less rigid than Herodotus or Diodorus thought. Only around a quarter of the known mummies have a heart left in their body. And many mummies still have their brain. If the embalmers did take the brain out, they sometimes use different methods to avoid damaging the face. Holes have been found in the bottom of the skull and through different routes into the nose. Well, there you go. Egyptians upcycled coffins. Jeez, really? Got to kick Grandma out. Uncle Dave didn't make it. So they dumped Grandma out. I don't know what that means. I mean, what is that? They upcycled them.
What does that even mean?
That means they used them over and over.
Oh,
right?
No.
That's what I'm thinking. Like they used it, and then when someone newer died, they dumped out the old person and put in the newer person. That's what I'm taking this to mean. In ancient Egypt, wood for coffins was scarce and expensive. Not everyone could afford a new coffin or linen wrappings. A good coffin, but not a luxurious one, in the New Kingdom would cost about 5 goats or 250 loaves of bread. Wow. Could you imagine living on, like, how much is that car? 1,500 loaves of bread. Okay, I'm going home to get busy. Upcycling and recycling are not modern concepts. To save money, embalmers would often take coffins from tombs already in use. These could be repainted to include the name of the new owner, or the parts were sometimes used to fashion a new coffin. And tombs were often raided by robbers looking for valuables, and afterwards they were often left open, and that made for easy for others to search the tomb for coffins and wrappings to reuse. Household linens were also often used as mummy wrappings once they outlived their usefulness.
Oh, no.
Grab a dish rag. Modern research techniques such as radiocarbon dating are showing this practice was widespread. Coffin materials, linen wrappings, and other materials are often sometimes dated several hundred years older than the person they were buried with. Yeah. That's a little creepy, right?
Yeah.
I gotta say, though, there are cemeteries still around the world where they will have a gravesite for a period of years, And then after that period of years, they will take the remaining matter, whether it's bones or whatever, and relocate them to a more communal burial site where a bunch of other people's bones are. And then that'll open it up for a new body to be buried. So that actually still goes on, believe it or not. I think that's is it in South America or Central America or somewhere like that? Yeah, I mean, there's some cemeteries I remember reading about where they would just relocate the bodies after a period of 5-10 years, and basically it was just bones left. So they'd go in and scoop out the bones and then put them in this big other mass grave, and then somebody new could be buried there, so their family could come observe and pay their respects and stuff. So that's kind of macabre, right?
Yeah.
The tourist trade scrambled history. That's the fifth thing. Excuse me. We now know mummies in museums outside of Egypt are not always in the coffins they were discovered in. I mean, many mummies are given historical date based on their coffin style and decoration. The shape and decoration and religious texts on them changed over time. But in the 19th and 20th centuries, mummies were sold to tourists.
What?
Yeah. What? You know, here we are talking about haunted dolls and stuff, but I mean, how many houses do you suppose have mummies in them?
Oh, man, true.
Oh, my God. I don't know how many mummies they sold off to tourists and stuff, but who the hell's shipping a mummy back home? This will look great in the dining room. It's like, what the
This
hell?
corpse will look great. Yeah. Like, what?
Imagine this by my vase. I don't know. Creepy people. It says, do scientists as well, or collectors? Sellers put well-wrapped mummies into coffins from different tombs to encourage people to buy them. The mismatch only comes to light when a mummy is studied scientifically. It's now illegal to take mummies or any other ancient artifact from Egypt. There are still a lot of mummies left in private houses, though. There you go. Thank you very much. Bought more than a century ago and sometimes forgotten about. God, you imagine cleaning out that attic? Yeah.
Oh, God.
What's behind these clothes? It's the undead. Instead of one unwavering tradition, Egyptian mummification was variable. The funeral rituals available to someone demonstrated how important they and their family were. Being mummified using the most up-to-date techniques and materials not only helped secure a person's position in the afterlife, but it was an important sign of status. Well, there you go. I think that we've learned enough about mummies. What do you think, Sheldon?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so now here's the thing that I was going to talk about. Chris Everard, who is the founder and documentarian for Enigma TV, and it's just a fascinating guy. He's one of those guys that all I have to do is start a show, and he will just go to the races until I'm done, until we run out of time, because he's just got so much to say, and he can spit out facts and stuff. But what he was telling me was they were doing some research, and I think it might have been on Ramses the First. They were doing some research and just figuring out what was his life like, and what they found was traces of cocaine in the mummy. Now, what makes that incredible is that cocaine's a product of South America, not Africa, not the Middle East, not Asia. It's only from the cacao leaves or whatever that it's made. So it seems to establish, and I think tobacco as well, and it seems to establish that there was possibly active trade even in the time of the ancient Egyptians across the globe. Now, does that not throw a big monkey wrench into the gears of history? Right?
I mean, I don't know what does history say about trade in Egypt?
That it didn't happen until Amerigo Vespucci and Columbus and all those other people happened onto this unknown North and South American continents. So, I mean, it's the difference of millennia, and so there was apparently trade going on because there is no cocaine in Africa. So I don't know. It's bizarre, just bizarre. So there was some other things too that he said in regards to that, but I was just like, oh my God. Now I could be wrong on the mummy that they studied, but in any case, it was an ancient mummy of one of the great pharaohs, and it was being cataloged and MRI scanned and chemical analyzed, and that's when they found these residues, and it's like, oh my God, these guys were high as a kite. You know? And how did they get that? How did they get that from South America? So you be the judge, folks. I don't know, but and I'm only going by what Chris said. I think heard another reference of that in another source since then. I remember stumbling on something else that seemed to verify that very fact. But again, these are two sources that I haven't done the research personally, so I can't speak with any authority. But if it's true, that changes the game. That changes the game entirely. So I don't think we really know much about our ancient history as it turns out. I think that the history that's written is either only a fraction of the history or it's inaccurate. One of the two. So I guess we'll find out.
Rachel brings up a point. Probably chewed the leaves, not processed cocaine, we think. Was it actual cocaine powder? Or was it like a leaf?
I can't remember the specifics, to be honest with you. I just remember he said that there was cocaine residues found. I thought he said in the lungs, though. I thought he said in the lung tissues of the mummy, but I might be wrong. I don't know. Anyway, it just seems to show that there was a lot more going on in our ancient past.
Oh, there's so much. There's so much that went on in our ancient past we are not even aware of, I bet.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's the artifacts out of place, the oobarts, out of place artifacts, I guess is how that works. But those are the, screws embedded in coal and stuff like that, things that shouldn't exist, and other artifacts that don't make sense, machined aluminum being found as they're excavating mastodon skulls, which
that's right,
just doesn't make any sense. A hammer embedded in 300 or 400 million year old rock. Part of the wooden handle was becoming coal, and the other part was petrified. So, I mean, these things don't make sense. But again, I've only got a anecdotal familiarity with these things, but if they are indeed accurate, that's absolutely intriguing and would seem to suggest there's a lot more to discover here. So that is a little bit of an introduction into mummification for those of you that didn't know that. Then you're welcome. I didn't know a lot. I didn't know they upcycled the coffins and stuff. Man, they were hustlers back then. I mean, I've heard of people, friends of mine, actually the founders of TFR, went over to Egypt and they said, oh man, you go over there, all you hear is bakshish, bakshish, bakshish. I'm like, what's bakshish? Bakshish. He says they put their hand out and say bakshish, like tip. He said everywhere you go, bakshish, bakshish. So, I mean, and you can hardly blame them. I mean, these people are probably very impoverished and, a bit of money goes a long way, but yeah. Anyway, let's get to the next one. And this one is a curious one. I don't really know the context of it, but it seems to have to do with the Chinese astronauts. Well, it obviously does because that's part of the title of the article, but there seems to be some intrigue around their spacewalk. So let's see what it says from unexplained-mysteries.com as of today, March 4th, 2023. Questions surround Chinese astronauts' mystery spacewalk. Wonder what questions. 2 Chinese astronauts recently conducted a secretive spacewalk outside the Tiangong space station. It would be fair to say that China isn't exactly transparent when it comes to its activities in space. Whereas NASA and ESA announced plans EVAs as well in advance, China attracted criticism this week for conducting a spacewalk in secret, and then only announcing that it had taken place afterwards. Why? Why do we need to know that?
Yeah, okay.
Why is that our business? I mean, if they want to go outside and throw a frisbee, go on. Yeah, have at it. Even the Soviets used to reveal the start and end times of their spacewalks, which makes the level of secrecy in China's case seem particularly strange and suspicious. No specific details about the most recent spacewalk, which was conducted by, here comes the names, astronauts Fei, F-E-I, Junlong and Zhang Lu outside the Tiangong space station, have so far been disclosed. Even China's previous spacewalks had at least been hinted at beforehand. The Chinese authorities are not doing themselves any favors by not providing much transparency. Why do they need to, though? I don't understand. What if one of them comes loose? Do we need to know so we can grab a net and go get them, or what? I mean, why would that be a problem? About their...
This is not a valid menu option.
Apparently not. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for questioning the wisdom of the international space community. The Chinese authorities are not doing themselves any favors by providing much transparency about their crewed space flight operations. Space policy expert Bledin Bowen. What? Somebody's named Bledin Bowen? That sounds like something out of Dungeons and Dragons. Told Space News, I'm a warrior. What's your name? Bledin Bowen. If they want to be seen as more normal space power, everyday crewed space flight operations, which have little to no security and military importance, can be more openly reported and talked about. The Chinese authorities also need to get used to talking honestly about delays and unforeseen challenges, as some other space powers have done. Well, that's kind of arrogant, though, isn't it? I mean, why do they owe us an explanation? They're welcome to go float stuff in space and go walk around it. I don't understand.
Has to do with international law? I don't know.
I mean, I really have no clue, but they just seem to be really pissed. Well, they didn't even tell us they were going for a walk. It's like you have to phone your neighbor before you walk your... I'm going out to walk Lucky. So if you see me out there, it's me and my dog, just in case. You know, like you're...
It could be one of those things where we're just questioning the validity of the event happening in general. Because if you're going to do something, wouldn't you announce it before and be like, oh, it was a big success. Yeah. Otherwise, it looks like you're just, staging. Oh, yeah, we did a spacewalk. Yeah, we did it. Yeah, that happened
turns out
last week.
There's an empty space suit on a tether just floating out there. Look, we got pictures. And then they drag it in. We're done. I don't know, maybe it has to do with the validation of their progress, but I don't know. I mean, it's not like they're real forthcoming about anything else. So why do they need to tell us when their astronauts are going for a spacewalk? It's like, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. It might have to do with the contentions with the balloons coming over to America. Now we're like, laser focused on everything they're doing up in the sky in space. And all
that's where the balloons are entering the atmosphere, right up there. That's what they're doing. The astronauts went outside and they're blowing up balloons.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case or not, but could be. I don't know. It seems like a weird complaint to have, though. I mean, of course, I guess if it's a joint international operation, then sure. But this is our own space station. Why do they have to report into everybody else? Like, hey guys, we're going to throw a baseball at the Earth today, just so you know. I do whatever you want. I don't know, but again. I don't know much of anything really. This is really peculiar. So that's that article. New. It's new, but I don't know that anybody needed to know that. But apparently, the International Space Community
necessary.
The International Space Community sure feels they needed to know. So that's all we're going to say here.
Just bullying the poor country.
The poor country. Yeah.
This poor country.
Oh, this poor country.
Pity.
Yeah. Well, we have another article here. We're now entering the archives of unexplained-mysteries.com. And this is a weird one. Looks like it might come from Australia. Sure does. Don't worry about deforestation for paper, Sheldon. They've got a whole new plan in Australia.
God.
Did you know about this? No? Well, let me tell you. No. Featured on Paranormal Portal News Desk. In 2009, March 9th, company makes paper from wombat poo. Yep. They're making paper from wombat poo.
I don't want to write on that. I don't ever want to write on that.
You need toilet paper to erase. You gotta have to roll a Charmin, roll a Charmin right next to you, and you gotta rub it on there to erase. That was
the ink's already in the paper.
No, but look. All right, quilted softness, Sheldon. Come on. A company in Australia that is previously credited with producing paper from kangaroo droppings has now been successful in creating paper from wombat poo. Did they have a lot of wombat poo laying around? I mean, is this a service they're offering here? Like, hey, you know what? Instead of throwing that wombat poo in the trash, just put it out on the curb. We'll pick it up. Aussie marsupial, the wombat, has proven itself to be useful after its droppings were turned into paper. The paper, which is either green or gold, though. Gold. Come on. Depending on when the excrement is collected. Has been launched by an Australian company that previously made paper from kangaroo droppings. Well, there you go. Does it change color as it gets older or something? Or how does that work? Is it green initially and then turns gold later?
You're asking too many questions.
I just said it. The color depends on when it was collected. It's like, well, I guess you want to get it fresh. What the hell? I don't know.
It's green. Yes, it's fresh.
I don't know. Is Maggie out there? What's going on here?
Maggie, help us.
Help us understand, Maggie. We don't know about wombats. So apparently they're finding use for their droppings, though. I guess that's something. It's the Green New Deal. Thank you. That's what they should call their notebooks. The Green New Deal. Thank you.
Oh, John's Aussie. John, help us out. What's going on here?
What's going on with wombats? Does their poop change color? What's going on? They seem to suggest that in this article. So.
Sounds like you want the green paper, right?
I think you would. I think you'd want the freshest stuff you can get, but that might just be me. My eyes a little burny. All right, let's see.
It's still warm.
Yeah.
Done, I'm done.
Why is my paper steaming? Why does my paper smell like a mad Sasquatch? All right, let's continue on before I get any stupider. All right. Not that I think there's anything wrong with that, I guess, but
no, there's nothing wrong with it.
It's just
I'm sure it's clean. It's not like it's dirty, poop smudged.
Well, why did they go right from, instead of taking trees, let's work on poop. Why not go for like weeds or something like that instead? It's like, these horrible weeds nobody likes. Let's see if we can make paper out of those, or invasive species or some, some waterborne problem plant or, make paper out of that. But how do you go right from trees to a turd? It's your resource pool. Let's work our way there. Let's go to other plant life first, maybe. I don't know. That's just me. I'm just confused.
Even hemp. Hemp is a great option.
Yeah, it is. Hemp is, and it's very, very renewable, I guess. It grows quickly in the right conditions. So, not that I know that personally, but I've heard. All right. So
we hear stories.
No, I mean, I've never grown any hemp. I've had a house that had some growing, like ditchweed growing there, and it's like, ooh, yeah, I got to get rid of this before I get raided. So me and Mr. Roundup went out and took care of that. But all right, so next up on the news archives, unexplained-mysteries.com brings us man caught smuggling pigeons in his trousers from 2009. Why would you smuggle pigeons in your trousers? An Australian man was caught attempting a novel way in which to smuggle pigeons into the country. When searched, he was found to have a live pigeon wrapped in a padded envelope stuffed to each leg of his trousers.
Oh, that poor pigeon.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. Imagine if they peck. ooh,
They get a little hungry.
They definitely don't like the X-ray machine. Let's see what it says. A 23-year-old man was stopped by customs officials at Melbourne Airport After he disembarked a flight from Dubai, the officer searched his bags and allegedly found a vitamin container containing 2 bird eggs. A further search revealed he was wearing tights under his trousers with a live pigeon stuffed into each leg. The birds were wrapped in padded envelopes, but had little else to protect them during the 10-hour flight. Oh, those poor birds. That would be horrible.
That's not even cool.
No. No, that's weird. I don't know what's special about the pigeons that he felt he had to do that, but aren't pigeons kind of everywhere? I mean, do you need to bring them in? Aren't they already everywhere? I don't know. Maybe they're not. Yeah. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're not in Australia. But that'd be a horrible thing to introduce to Australia. I mean, if they're not already there, our Australian listeners, are there pigeons there naturally, or is this not something you guys have? Because in every city in the U.S., there's pigeons everywhere. And so it seems to be a common fowl over here. But
John says we have pigeons.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know why they needed these pigeons, but apparently this person felt they did. So whatever the hell that's going on, I don't know. But they got 2 less than they were going to have. All right, let's get to the next one. I got 3 more articles. These go quick though. These archive ones, and then we'll get on with the rest of the show. 7:43. Yeah, I definitely want to read through these. What?
I can't believe time's gone. I'm always surprised. I'm never not surprised.
Right. Me too. All right. Next up, unexplained-mysteries.com. Man wins the Grand National from the grave. From April 10th, 2009, a man who died several months ago from cancer left his family a tip and $250 to place a bet on 100-1 Grand National outsider Mon Mom. From beyond the grave, his bet scooped $20,000. Good job. For one family, last weekend's Grand National was more than just a race. It was the fulfillment of a wish from beyond the grave. Danny Shea, 66, a passionate horse racing fan, died from cancer 5 months ago, but knowing he would never see this year's race, he left his family a tip and $250 to place the bet. Well, there you go. That's kind of sweet. Isn't it?
Good
right?
Man. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, he netted him $250 and brought in $20,000. That's a hell of a deal, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, good for him. And maybe he was there like spanking the horse out on the field, like, get it go.
He can help from the grave.
My widow needs to make a house payment. He's whipping the horse. I don't know, maybe. Maybe he was helping it on. But anyway, that ended good. I guess that was kind of a neat ending to his love of horse racing, right?
Yeah, I think so too. That's a good story.
That is a good story. That's heartwarming. All right, next up is another one from 2009. This again from the archives, but this one is 6-year-old has an IQ higher than Einstein. 6-year-old. Wow. 6-year-old Pranav Vera is believed to have an IQ higher than Einstein's. This seemingly ordinary youngster is said to have an IQ of 176 and can perform intellectual feats beyond those most adults can accomplish in a lifetime. Wow.
God.
Pranav Vera can recite the names of the U.S. presidents in the order that they served in office. He can say the alphabet backwards. Give him a date back to 2000 and he'll tell you the day of the week. He's only 6 years old. At first glance, Pranav is a typical young boy who is highly competitive at playing Wii video games. Probably he's moved on since then. And likes to play outside. And a closer look reveals he's anything but typical. 176, man. That kid could be a prodigy. That's pretty incredible.
He sounds like he was, well, at the time of 2009, yeah, he definitely was a prodigy. I wonder where he's at now.
Right. The name is Pranav Vera. Now, it's interesting as a side note that generally speaking, people with genius IQs are oftentimes just normal people. Like they don't aspire to these sciences and stuff. They don't aspire to be mathematicians or quantum physicists or theoretical physicists or whatever. They may end up being plumbers or electricians or driving truck or stuff. IQ is certainly the ability to learn, and they can learn quickly, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they have a mind for all these, high achievement things. They just might like to have a simpler life, so it certainly would make life easy to have a really high IQ, but it does not a guarantee that that's what they'll choose to do with it. And they should be able to choose. I think that that's important. Right, Sheldon?
I 100% agree. Yeah. No matter what you're natural at, whatever makes you happy and whatever will give you the most peace in life is more important than what your capabilities are. I'd rather live happy than doing what I'm naturally good at and miserable. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. Okay, here's another one from Unexplained Mysteries Archive. This is from March 3rd, 2009. And this is the last, this is the last article. So this is the last from the archives. This is the very last article I was able to farm from the archives. Here we go. Parrots teach man to speak again. A man who suffered serious injuries in an accident and lost the ability to speak has regained the ability thanks to the chatter of his pet parrots. Brian Wilson from Damascus, Maryland, suffered life-threatening injuries in the accident, whatever the accident is, 14 years ago. He also lost his ability to speak, but now he claims that the chatter of pet parrots confounded the bleak outlook of doctors, who were convinced that he would spend the rest of his life in bed at a nursing home. 2 birds taught me to talk again, he said. I had such a bad head injury. I was never supposed to talk any more than a 2-year-old. But he's talking fine. Very cool. That's
amazing.
Yep, the things nature can provide. That's amazing. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to wrap up our News Festival of Fun for tonight. This may be one of the changes going forward on these live shows, whether or not we continue to do the news as a nightly feature on the live shows. It may turn into pre-recorded videos that are available on the YouTube channel. It's an idea I've been throwing around for a while, so it may be something we'll dive into here in the near future, but we'll see. Again, it's hard to farm up a lot of material. As you can tell, I've been using Unexplained Mysteries for a while now, and I'll continue to use that for forthcoming news events, but they'll be geared more towards just the paranormal, and they may be pre-recorded videos that are featured as standalone episodes, but I'll let you know. If you have any opinions on that, let me know in the comments or in the chat what you think, and if somebody says anything, Sheldon, let me know. But that's just throwing an idea out there. I didn't know if I was going to make that public, but I figured I better let you guys weigh in on that choice, because you're the reason I'm here doing this. So if it's something you guys like the idea of, then we can continue and develop it in a different way. So let me know what you think. The news going forward, pre-recorded videos all in and of themselves. So, all right, that's going to conclude the news for tonight. Let's get back to the rest of the show.
Let's.
Oh, that's interesting. So Philip Blair says, not normal. They're very lonely, talking about high IQ people, very lonely because most people don't understand them. The highest scoring man in recent history was a bouncer at a small bar in Connecticut, and he's in Missouri now. That's interesting. Yeah. He created his own online social groups and dating technology, and so he could find love. He's married now, and I think his wife is a mathematics professor, something like that. Oh, that's very cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't begrudge them. That's that right. I mean, high IQs. I mean, high IQ, we often think that it means these people could, just And maybe they could, but they could just, unlock the future for us. But they deserve the right to choose as well. It'd be nice, if a bunch of highly intelligent people decided to, like in Phenomena, that John, whatever his name is, Travolta movie, Phenomena, I think it was. He was, had a weird tumor in his brain that suddenly made him super intelligent, and he just did nothing but read and develop new technologies and stuff. And it was like, wow, how could we benefit from someone like that? But they have the right to choose their own lives.
I think Goodwill Hunting is an even better example.
Yeah.
The guy who was a complete genius in mathematics.
Yep, good point.
I mean, it's a fictional story, but the sentiment still holds true.
Sure.
At the end of the day, you don't want to be miserable. You want to make yourself happy and comfortable.
Right.
Even if you have all this potential.
Yeah, they don't owe anybody anything, for being super intelligent or able to learn and do complex algorithms and math in their head or just see things differently than everyone else. But yeah, it's still very cool. Okay, folks. So we are back at it here on the portal, and we got the next segment of the show is one that I've really been loving, and we'll see what kind of reactions we got from it, because there wasn't a ton, but I thought it was a good question, because for our cryptid lovers, this was a question of the week for you guys, for especially the Bigfoot enthusiasts out there. But we got a few replies, but not a ton on the Discord question of the week. But let's get to those now and find out just what people had to say.
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Discord question of the week. And this is our topic of the Discord group that we have, where we pose a question to the community members on our Discord and find out what they think of the different phenomena if we pose questions about. So if you'd like to join, if you're a Discord user, you're new to the show, and you wouldn't mind being a part of these conversations, then by all means, Sheldon has posted a link out there a couple times now in the chat. If you want to join, just click that link, and that'll bring you to this, which is the Discord community itself. So over here is the Paranormal Portal. That's this server. And over here is the discussion groups, including a Discord tutorials. If you want to learn how to use Discord, you're brand new to it, and you're like, how do I do this? I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Well, this is where you can watch some videos, or you can watch videos on YouTube ahead of time, just how to use Discord, and check them out before you download and install it, if you'd rather do it that way. But the questions of the week is a brand new segment. Well, newer. It's about a couple months old now or better, but we pose a question just to hear what you guys say, because or what you think about this stuff, because there's no right or wrong answers, and nobody has this stuff all nailed. We don't know what's going on. Yeah. So
1685.
1685. Huh. So that's the voice generator. Did you hear that, Sheldon?
No, I heard nothing.
Okay, yeah, because you're on Skype, you wouldn't hear that. But it said 1685. I'm not sure what that meant, but...
Or is it a year? 1685.
1685, well, yeah, I guess you can Google 1685. Or I can, and you can read the question of the week and the responses.
Absolutely. So you go ahead and I'll get started here. So for today's question, the account of Albert Ostman has been an incredible moment in Bigfoot history. Albert, who was investigating lost gold mines in British Columbia, was allegedly abducted from his camp by a large Bigfoot and was taken miles and over impossible terrain, where he finds himself a guest of a family of Bigfoot. The story is quite an incredible look into what may be the life and family of a Bigfoot clan and the incredible events that follow. Do you believe this story is factual? Do you think Albert was really abducted and kept in the company of this family group for several days? Or was this just a fancy yarn spun by a creative mind? And also, if you join the Discord, you can also see the link that Dad posted with the question if you are looking for information more about the story. But our first responder is Storm00. This one is hard for me. I'm not saying it can't be true. It's just out there on the fringes of my belief system because it happened so long ago during a different time in history and people were genuinely more honest about such experiences. It is hard to dismiss it outright. So the short answer is anything's possible. Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely anything's possible.
Absolutely.
Just there or here and there says his story has so many details. I remember reading this story in the Reader's Digest sometime in the late 70s to early 80s. I think it happened as he tells it. By all accounts, he wasn't out looking to capitalize on his encounter. He just wanted to let people know what was out there.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. Caleb says, great story. Kidnapped by Old Man Sasquatch. This is the first time I've heard about this. Hearing his recorded voice from an old interview on the YouTube video allows me to feel more confident in the truth of his story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you look at that link that I posted, there are some embedded YouTube videos talking about his experience. And one of the one on the bottom of the page actually is an excerpt from him, Albert Ostman himself, being interviewed. And I thought that was pretty amazing because you can hear it in his own words, at least a segment of it. So you can hear that he sounds sincere. So anyway, I'm sorry, continue.
That's the thing. Even to build upon that, sincerity is a hard thing to fake. Like for some people, you either do sincere or you don't. But I mean, some people can, I guess.
Yeah, so, there's plenty of people that have no trouble being insincere but sounding sincere. But anyway, Yeah, continue.
Fair enough. Within says, I believe it's possible and plausible. I read an account about a soldier wounded in the Civil War who was nursed back to health by a family of Sasquatch. His encounter was documented way before today's cryptid bandwagon times.
Oh, very interesting.
And that story is a really good point too. There was a knowledge, was there back then, about Bigfoot?
Well, they were mostly referred to wild men when they were talked about. But I would love to see if you can find a link, or if you can provide a link. I'd love to hear that story. I'm not sure I'm familiar with it, so when I read that, I was like, "Ooh, I want to know more about that." So if you're hearing the sound of my voice, if you could find a link to that or something, please let me know. I guess I can Google search it too, but links are always easier.
Yeah. And then last but not least, Rachel101 says, this story was probably the first one I'd ever heard about Bigfoot. I'm leaning toward it being a true story. It was a different time of living back then. I'd think he'd have to be honest, tough man to live in the wilderness.
Yeah.
A certain character that keeps one alive in the woods where being careless can get one killed. A survivor truth. And his telling of his story wouldn't be as clearly told if he wasn't honest to himself and to whom he had told the story to. Yeah, I mean, I can't say about the times that we're living back then, but I mean, I remember reading the story. I didn't hear the account, so I actually really want to check out, in his own words, how he sounds to really say whether or not I'm fully on board or not.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, as far as right now goes, I have heard of this story before. You may have even told me this, I don't know, years ago, or I read about it. But sure. I do lean towards that it's a true story, even though it's outlandish.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Dad?
Well, I definitely believe his story. I think that he talked about physiology that really wasn't known at all at that time. I mean, people had seen these things, had experienced them, but he talked, and there's a video from Bob Gimlin in there, not Bob Gimlin of the Patterson Gimlin fame, but Gymlan, who is the YouTuber. And he talked about how Ostman basically described the sagittal crest, which nobody had described before then, and even gorillas really weren't widely known, and they didn't really, like, nobody had really put that together as far as I know. He also described the hands as being like mostly palm, this enormous scoop-like palm with a rear-setted thumb and very stubby fingers, which would be very, very similar to what a gorilla's hand is like the gorilla hand is largely palm, and they do have very strong fingers and stuff. But and he also describes the feet of the Sasquatch, and this is something that I've often considered a lot because we hear how they can move silently through the woods, like they don't make a sound. Well, I always wondered, what if they had a foot like an elephant? Like as big as an elephant is in India and stuff, they can walk right through the forest, and even in Vietnam, they can walk through the jungles and stuff and not hardly make a sound. Big elephants, we're talking, many thousands of pounds, wandering through the jungle, not making a sound. Well, if you look at the morphology of the elephant foot, it essentially is sitting almost like it's walking on tiptoes on this incredible gelatinous pad that is just such a shock absorber and stuff. And so I've often wondered, is a Bigfoot's foot maybe something akin to that? So since they don't wear shoes, did they in ancient times or for the entirety of their being, did they develop these maybe some thicker padding on the bottom of their feet? And Osman talks about the soles of the little boy Bigfoot's feet being very much like a dog's paw with pads on it, and that basically the sole was one big pad. And so it does at least lend some possibility to that fact. So he talked about the physiology of these things long before. And as John Green says in one of the links on that page, look, these are details nobody knew at the time, but have been retold many times by eyewitnesses since then, which really corroborates what Albert was saying back at the turn of the 1900s. So he obviously came, in my opinion, it's just so much detail. Now, what we don't hear a lot about is he talked about the eye teeth, and Bob Gimlin in his video misspeaks and says it's the incisors. Well, the incisors are the two front teeth, but the eye teeth are also the canines, the I don't know, third teeth over from each side. And that's with dogs and baboons and other tigers. Those are a huge tooth, but he said his eye teeth were much longer. Were at least longer than the rest of his teeth, but were not like big enough to be tusks. So it did seem to have some kind of fangs, and we don't really hear about that too much, but how many people really see a Bigfoot's teeth very often? Usually it's looking at him grimacing, maybe showing its teeth and showing these. Oftentimes people describe them as chiclets. They look like big chiclets. They're such big teeth. And he also described their fingernails as looking like chisels, like they're very, very thick. So, I mean, how did he fabricate all of these details, which would be corroborated over and over again in eyewitness accounts for 100 years or better? To me, that's a huge feat. I will say the people back then, character was extraordinarily important. Like integrity was very, very important. A man was as good as his word. And this is a guy who grew up, was a lumberjack, a prospector, and all of these things. And now, can those people spin yarns? For sure. But he was interviewed several times, both by John Green and other people, and his recountings were spot on each time. There was no variation in the narration at all. John Green was very careful to re-interview him and change up how he interviewed him. And always the story was the same. Now, there wasn't lie detector tests at that time, but he did sign a document swearing that this was the truth. And that's pretty powerful. So I think I really believe in his story. I really believe that he experienced what he said he experienced. Maybe there's some embellishment there, but at the end of the day, who knows? Maybe it wasn't a snuff. Maybe he didn't, give the thing a whole bucket of snuff or whatever that ended up making it sick, the big male sick and running around. But maybe he did. I don't know. I mean, I can't speak to every detail, but the details he does cite in that story are incredible and were never known topics of conversation back then. So, you got to be your own judge on that. But I think he saw what he says he saw. So that's my take on it.
Also, you missed a huge spike.
Oh, did I really? Oh, it's already off screen. It didn't do the hissing thing though. Was it red?
Yeah, it was either orange or red. I couldn't.
Could
quite
be
tell.
orange.
But
I think
yeah.
red's the only one that does the hissing because it's right in my ear if it does it. So, okay, well.
It was like right to your. It was behind you to your left, apparently.
Oh, back here?
Yep.
That's where it was last night too. But it was a green dot last night, so I guess it's a little stronger tonight.
He's getting a little irritated. You're not noticing.
Oh well, I'm a little busy here. I got a show. I got to do a show, gal. You know, I'm not here to entertain the unseen. I'm here. Well, other than I can't see all
Yeah,
of you,
you are.
but I guess I am here to entertain the unseen. But you know what I'm saying. Yeah, the 1685. The one thing I found was Louis XIV enacted the Edict of Fontainebleau, which replaced the Edict of Saint Germain and made Protestantism illegal. More bloodshed ensued, and over the next several years, more than 200,000 Huguenots fled France for other countries. So, I don't know. I guess that was 1685. Again, I don't put a lot of stock in the words getting spit out. It does seem that something triggers them, and I imagine that's part of the EM field, but I don't know that it has relevance. But you be the judge. Again, it's not my contention that you need to believe in this stuff, but you know, maybe there's something to it. So special thank you to everybody that participated in those answers on the question of the week. Again, we didn't have a lot of answers, but maybe a lot of you aren't familiar with this story specifically. But that's why I included the link so that you guys could check it out if you chose. But that was it is a long story. His story is very long. I did a podcast of his story. The Albert Ostman experience. I think it was in the first or second season of the podcast. So you can certainly check that out. I know I did the Bauman incident from Teddy Roosevelt's book, and I did Albert Ostman's experience, and both of those on my podcast. So those are out there if you want to check them out. And I think there's even a Bedtime Stories from Beyond where I did the Albert Ostman experience as well. But it might have been just on a normal show, normal 2-hour show. But anyway, check it out. I hope you guys like it. At any rate, also remember, those of you that are here, that you can now check out our podcast offerings from this season, season 4, on YouTube. There's a playlist right near the top of the page that says podcast episodes. And those are 32 episodes that we've done in season 4 so far. So you can check those out. See what you think. And if you like it, then head over to Spotify, Pandora, Google Play, Castbox, Stitcher, iTunes, iHeartRadio, wherever you find podcasts, and check out the other seasons. But I may be reversing that. I might put up the older episodes and then say, if you want to hear the newer episodes, go to those other platforms. But for now, they're up there. If you want to check them out, by all means, go ahead. So hope you guys love it. Hope. All right. So that's going to conclude the question of the week. Thank you, everybody, for participating. It means the world.
Absolutely.
Can you believe it's 8:10 already?
I never can.
I can't
Never
either.
can.
I can't either because it goes darn fast. Anything been going on in the chat? Are we doing good? Or everybody doing good out there? Has Wes done a radio play of that? He'd do an amazing job. Hey, Rachel, what do you mean I did an amazing job? What do you mean, Wes? Jeez.
Wow, Rachel. Jeez.
Oh. Wes would do an amazing job of that. What? I tell you.
Right in the gut.
No respect, I tell you. Ah. Wes should do so good. I'm just kidding. No, Wes does a great job, of course. He's amazing. All right, let's get on with this. No, I don't know if Wes has ever done the Ostman story. Maybe he has. I don't know. I'm not sure. I love Sasquatch Chronicles, obviously. It inspired a lot of how I do my podcast, as well as, having Wes's friendship has been awesome too. He's the one that inspired me to start a podcast. I just was going to be a YouTube internet radio guy. And he's like, why isn't this a podcast? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, literally, I was like, I you know. And so I was like, okay, maybe it should be. So he was instrumental in making sure there was a Paranormal Portal podcast. Yes, Wes did the Ostman story. Chucky, enough pimping Wes around here. Come on, guys. No, I'm just joking. All right.
He's a great guy.
He is a great guy. He's a true friend. I mean, he's one of those guys that just is always been helpful ever since I started podcasting. And, you know, for all of my shows, he's been an incredible mentor. So I was very fortunate that way. So, all right, let's go to some cryptids, I guess. I was going to do some other stuff, but I got a bunch of these cryptid stories pulled up. Well, maybe we'll do a little bit of the coincidences. I want to get through this article too. We've had it open. I've had it open for weeks here, and we've touched it a few times. But generally speaking, I think coincidences are pretty phenomenal events that can have ramifications that literally can change lives. Like just a chance meeting of somebody turns into, you know, a soulmate, or, you know, or getting a phone call at a time when you were going to cross the street, and then you take the phone call instead, and a car whips by and it would have killed you, or something like that. So coincidences, I think, can be incredibly powerful events. And so I like talking about these. Some of these are more run of the mill, but some of them are absolutely astounding. These are coming from a site that you wouldn't think it would come from, but it's mortarsearches.com. And how the hell they have an article about coincidences, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine, believe me. But it is a good article. It's a Reddit scrape, and we cover these often on the show. And so they go out and farm comments on Reddit from threads. Maybe they start, maybe they just go and look around and see what they can find. But this one is called Chance Encounters. And this is, one morning, I was getting on a bus from D.C. to New York City, and I bumped into my ex. Well, we hung out for a bit, and then I realized that I missed the bus. Well, I waited for the next one and found my old roommates sitting there, waiting for it as well. I hadn't seen them in months. I got on the bus, arrived in New York City, and later that day, I randomly walked past my old boss in Times Square. Wow. I spent the entire day bumping into people I knew. It was very weird. Well, that is unusual. I mean, what are the odds, right?
Yeah, another one of those odds. Yeah.
What is the ramifications? I can't begin to guess. I mean, maybe running into the ex was closure. Maybe running into the old friends was rekindling. The old boss, who the hell knows? That's one thing I've never done is walk. I've never really bumped into an old boss. I bumped into people I worked with, but never a direct boss, I don't think. Maybe I have, and I've forgotten, because I'm getting old, and that happens. Next one is manufacturer's photo. Years ago, my wife and I were out shopping, and she wanted to pick up an 8x10 frame so she could put our wedding photo in it and put it on her desk at her new job. We went into a chain store and found the frames. Then we were shocked to discover the work had been done for us. The manufacturer's photo in the frame was our own wedding picture. How's that for odds, Sheldon?
Unbelievable.
Can you say lawsuit? What do you mean? That's our photo. You'd think they'd want to get permission, but maybe they just bought it off a photographer or something. Uncanny resemblance comes next, and it says, I had a good friend years ago that I hadn't seen in a while. While on a trip, I was eating supper in an out-of-the-way restaurant, and I looked across the room, and there he was. I got up and walked over and reached out my hand, and he just stared at me without any recognition whatsoever. This guy looked exactly like my friend, even talked like him. But he wasn't him. I was shocked at how similar they were. I apologized him and told him the background, and I'm still bowled over at how complete the resemblance was. So do you think he was an NPC? I mean, really? Yeah. Non-player character, like he wasn't really an organic soul. He was just part of the mechanism of life. just kind of glued in
I
there.
I meet NPCs every day, so you never know.
Maybe we're NPCs, Sheldon. Ooh.
Oh man. Oh, true. Oh my God.
Greetings,
I'm just
traveler.
filling the void.
To stand outside my house with a mug. Greetings, traveler. See what?
That leads me to ask, who's the main character here?
I don't know. I think we're organic. Probably organic, Sheldon. We're organic consciousness.
True.
Move-in day is the next one. It was move-in day at the dorms during my freshman year at college, and some frat boy knocked on my door and invited my roommate and me to a party, hoping that we would rush. I shooed him off, and 5 years later I was moving to New York with my wife. We were at the airport and struck up a conversation with a couple that went to the same college as we did. As they also happened to live in New York, we developed a friendship and became best friends. After several months, we found out that we lived in the same dorm our first 2 years at college, although he was a year ahead of me. It turned out we lived in the same dorm room our respective freshman years, and that he was a frat boy. He was the frat boy on move-in day. So, wow. Predestination, right?
I guess so.
They were destined to have their lives intertwined.
I mean, that's how you know.
I guess. I mean, because, even though they shooed him away, he came back years later and became a fast friend. So that's pretty cool. Next one is want to see a card trick. I was at a party and there was a guy trying to impress women doing some magic tricks. They were actually pretty good, but I was tipsy, so I was jealous and wanted some of the female attention. Aww. I told him I had a trick that was pretty great, even though I didn't. Everyone gathered around and I did a pick a card, any card. Well, he showed it to me and it was the six of hearts. We put it back in the deck and I did a million moves cutting the deck, handing it to someone else and so on, and was just trying to waste time. At that point I had a crowd, so I decided I was just going to draw the top card after all the nonsense I was doing. It was the six of hearts. The guy stood there looking at me dumbfounded. He couldn't figure it out. He was sure that it had a trick to it. I could barely contain myself. The crowd was amazed, and so was I. The guy started questioning me and wanted to know my secret, and I told him a good magician never tells his secrets. But I would give him a hint. I confidently said, Jack of Clubs, as I flipped over another card, and it was the Jack of Clubs. I couldn't even explain how amazing it was. Oh, that's pretty wild.
Best moment of his life right there.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if necessarily magic tricks are the best way to pick up dates, but it does make you interesting. It's a good way to probably get past all the awkwardness. Because
it's an icebreaker, and it catches their. It's not going to hold them for long, like the person you're going for, but it catches their interest, and that's all you need. You need the door open. The rest is up to you.
You better hope you got some personality though as well, because either that or a lot of magic tricks. Keep it interesting, because at some point you're going to get tired, and she's going to get tired. So, all right, this one is he was not disappointed. I went into Home Depot to buy light switches. While I was staring at a bunch of dimmers, an employee asked if I needed help. He started to help me, and I noticed he had a thick Italian accent. Since both of my parents were Italian, we started chatting, and he asked me what part of Italy my parents were from, and I told him, Molise, and he said he was from there as well and asked what city. When I told him, he was shocked, as he was from there as well. But it didn't end there. He asked me what my father's name was. It turned out his father grew up with my father. Every time he spoke to his dad, his father kept asking if he had found my father. He tried to explain to his dad that Canada was huge and he didn't know what part of Canada my dad moved to 45 years ago. I called my dad and let him talk to his long-lost friend's son. He was not disappointed. Oh, that's a cool story.
Whoa.
That's pretty cool. Huh.
No kidding. Wow. Either that or it's just a stalker and you looked everything up before.
Yeah, he was
no,
just,
I'm kidding.
Oh, I'm Italian too. Spaghetti. Where's your father from? Yeah, I'm doing a really bad Italian impression, but he could have been just a smooth talker. Smooth talker. That's where I'm from, too. Oh, really? That's where I'm from. Yeah, sure. Sure, buddy. Whatever. No, that's a cool story. I mean, Canada's a big place. So, again, coincidence? Sounds like it. All right, we're going to go over to some cryptid corner now. So, these are not all cryptid, though. This one is talking about a tale, a true tale of summoned dark energy, as we're doing the ghost box. Good call. This is from phantomsandmonsters.com. This is Lon Strickler's site. Check it out. There's tons of great articles over there. Great people's accounts and experiences. Uh-oh, cough coming. Sheldon, I was about to flip you off.
You're on camera now.
I have to keep this family friendly. I was going to tell you, you're number one. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, number one, right?
You're number one. Yep. So this one has to do with summon dark energy, and so it's more spiritual, I don't know, supernatural, but let's see what it says. All right. As I stood in the doorway, a chill went up my spine, and the hairs on the back of my neck and arms started to raise, and I could feel something closing in on me. In my left ear, I felt a warm breath and heard one loud word. Run. Wow, that's horrible, huh, Sheldon?
Yeah, that's like one of the worst case scenarios as far as like an introductory spiritual activity.
Yeah, that's not how you want to make your introduction. Like, hi, I'm Bill.
No.
Nope, it's run. All right, let's see what it says. Prior to 2016, I lived in Palmdale, California. My sister, Honey, and my youngest daughter lived with my mother in a rented townhouse apartment in Oxnard, about 2 hours away. Well, every weekend or two, I made the long drive to take them shopping and clean their house because they were both disabled. My mother was was my heart, and my sweet sister helped to raise me, so anything they needed, I was there for them. On the first floor, the kitchen was in the back with a door that opened to the backyard. Then a big open space, then the living room, and the front door. On the right, the bathroom and my mother's bedroom. The stairs were on the left with a half wall railing going up to the first landing. My mother was sitting in her lift recliner on the right, facing the base of the stairs. On the right, we were all sitting in the living room watching a show with the lights on, and my daughter was upstairs in her room, and we were laughing at something we saw on TV when I saw something on the stairs. It darted down the steps real fast, peeking up at me, and then ducked down behind the railing below, followed by a cold chill that entered the living room. My mother commented that it was cold and pulled her robe together. At first, I thought it was my daughter playing tricks on me, but then when she didn't pop up, I felt concerned. I said, "Mama, did you see something?" Because she had full sight of anything here. She said, "No, dear." I thought I did, but there's nothing there. And that's when it hit me. And instinctively, I knew what it was and where it came from. I ran up the stairs and burst into my daughter's room. "What did you do?" She looked at me with her eyes wide. She knew exactly what I was referring to and started apologizing. I told her to tell me what she did to bring it into this house. She proceeded to tell me that when her girlfriends were there, they thought it would be fun to summon a spirit.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
How fun.
Oh, good joy. Then they tried to reach the father of one of her friends who passed away 2 years prior, but she said something else came through, and it scared them, so they stopped, and her friends ran home without even saying goodbye. Well, I was furious. "How dare you play with something you don't understand?" I told her that I knew that she was just trying to help a friend, but for heaven's sake, I warned her years ago to never mess around with things she didn't understand and had no control over. I was thinking that not only do I constantly worry about my family's health, Now I have to worry about this. I asked if she had at least closed the door, and she just looked at me with a blank stare. Obviously, she did not. She said they made a Ouija board out of paper, and when they were done, she ripped it up and threw it away. That door had to be closed. We gathered the pieces, and she called her friends. 2 of them were too scared to come back, so we had to perform the closing without them. But in the back of my head, I knew that it didn't work, and it was still there hiding. At that point, there was nothing I could have done, viewing the circumstances at the time. Fast forward to 2016. I had an opportunity waiting for me in Washington State, so I begged and pleaded for my mother and sister to go with me, but my sister, Honey, was fanatically scared of change, and although my mother desperately wanted to go with me, she couldn't leave my sister's side. I wish now I was more persistent, so I moved reluctantly, leaving them with my daughter and her now husband to take over their care. Within those 2 years, my eldest sister's Honey's health severely declined, and my mother shared with me 8 months after I moved that she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. I flew and drove back and forth to be with them every time I showed them pretty pictures of the new life and our beautiful green surroundings, asking them to return with me. And every time Honey would say that she was just too apprehensive to leave and said no. 2018, they both passed away. My mother from cancer and my sister from an existing illness taking a big part of my heart and soul with them. My daughter and her husband moved out, leaving all of my mother and sister's things there. Somebody had to put their stuff in storage, and of course, it had to be me. Even though I was the youngest of 6, I felt it was my duty. I drove there with my 2 grandchildren, 8 and 4, because there was no one available to watch them for that long of a period of time. When we arrived, the place was in shambles. Dirty dishes and moldy food lined the counters and was piled up in the sink, and it looked like soot all over the floor. Mom and Honey's personal belongings were strewn around the house, and in my mother's room, a barricade of trash piled all the way up her door. In the middle of the room, in the open space, was a full length that I had never seen before, hanging off a wooden ladder. I just stood there and cried. I set up a clean spot in the living room for my grandson to play on his tablet, and my granddaughter wanted to help. As I was bagging things up in the kitchen, I noticed her just standing there staring into the mirror. I didn't think anything of it, but she just kept standing there. And then I heard her say to me while not looking away, "Nana, can you get rid of this mirror?" I thought she wanted me to move it, but she was adamant that it be taken out of the house. I asked her why, and she looked so scared, and she told me that while she was looking in the mirror, she was standing alone. She couldn't see anything in the reflection around or behind her, just darkness all around her, and something was coming. I looked at the mirror, not at myself, and it did look very dark. Say no more. Not only did I take it outside, I smashed it into little pieces and threw it in the trash can. We decided to sleep in the living room and it took days to even come close to being done. This was the last night that we were alone. And I just mopped downstairs, so I looked at the doors, or I locked all the doors and the windows in the whole house, and we slept upstairs in the bedroom across from my daughter's old room. We hunkered down on some mattresses on the floor. I always left a light on in the hall, and I'm reading a book online, and my granddaughter had fallen asleep next to me, and my grandson was on his tablet in the end of the bed. I was getting sleepy, and my grandson started to yawn. He looked up from his tablet, and his eyes got big, and then he ran to the door shouting, "Spooky!" and slammed it. Running back, he quickly got under the covers and got as close to me as he could to make me feel very uneasy. I could see movement in the hall, dimming the light around and under the door, making swirling, strange shapes as if someone were pacing, followed by surges of blackness and wisps of cool air coming from the space under the door. That night was long, and I felt on guard until I finally fell asleep as well, but woke up hours later. I had to go to the bathroom, but I was too scared. I was waiting until daybreak, but I couldn't wait any longer. I slowly opened the door, fearing for what was waiting for me on the other side. Well, there was nothing, but I knew there was. I could feel it. I tried to be as fast as I could and left the bathroom door open so I could hear the kids, and then I ran back, hearing a swoosh behind me. I slammed the door and lay holding the kids until daybreak. I received a call from my sister later that morning. She couldn't understand how we'd been able to stay in that house. When I asked her why, she told me that when she was there grabbing boxes of pictures and heard noises coming from my daughter's room upstairs. She said it was loud and she felt an evil presence, and everything inside her told her to leave, so she did. She also told me that my son-in-law, which I had no knowledge of at the time, was practicing black magic and summoning dark energy in that room. Not cool. Oh, my God. Just a comedy of errors.
Yeah.
Late that afternoon, everything was done. The kids were in the car, and the car was packed. I just wanted to look in my mother's bedroom one last time, where she used to sleep. These walls held so many memories, and I felt like if I looked hard enough, I would see her laying where the bed had been, and in my mind telling me not to cry. As I stood in the doorway, a chill went up my spine, and the hairs on the back of my neck and arms started to raise, and I could feel something closing in on me. In my ear, I felt a warm breath and heard one loud word: run. I ran out of the house so fast, not even locking the door. And as we were driving off, my granddaughter asked me who was standing in the window upstairs. Wow.
Oh my God, so many things.
So many bad ideas all in a row.
I don't get it. I really don't. Like, why people play with it's like, okay, like, let's say you're wrong and nothing happens. Like, okay, no big deal then. But what if you're right and nothing happens? Or
Yeah.
like, whatever. But what if you're wrong? What if in all these stories using Ouija board without closing it is a horrible idea.
Well, and the sad part is that now here's the thing, and I'll never tell people how to use things or how not to use them. I mean, just essentially, if you don't know, don't use them. Yeah. But anytime you enter into communication with unseen forces, you should start by preparing. That doesn't mean sitting around a little board with your hands on a piece of plastic. That means preparing. You have to guard, you have to shield, you have to cleanse an area. You've got to do things to safeguard against negative energies. And then when you're done, it's not just as simple as dragging a piece of plastic over goodbye. And I'm here to tell you, I've seen a lot of videos showing people using Ouija boards, and they do that. They just, goodbye, we're done. And that's it. And it's like, oh, dear God. I mean, you don't open a portal that you can't close. If you do, you're asking for trouble. And these things are portals. That doesn't mean that every time you use one, something really dark and horrible is going to happen. Hell, 90% of the time, nothing happens. There's just no real connection made. But when it is made, that's when it's dangerous, because you don't know what you're talking to. This is my big problem, and I did a TikTok video of this, talking about the Ouija board. But my big problem with it is the Ouija board is exceptionally dangerous to me because, A, if you don't know how to use it, you don't know how to open or close or protect yourself or your surroundings or the other people there. B, the method that you use to use it is you touching something with the implication that something is going to come through and move this as you're holding it. Now, you are basically making yourself a blind channel. You are blindly channeling something which is acting through your energy field, through its own energy field, whatever, however you want to look at this, but you have given implicit permission to something to interact directly with and through you into this object. So that's like 90% of the way to possession or oppression. I mean, you've already opened yourself. You've already opened all of your boundaries and barriers and said, is anyone there that wants to talk? Well, how does it talk? Well, it moves. Its energy is interacting with you as your energy, and this piece of plastic moves. Now, I'm not implying that it's moving it through you like you're moving it, but maybe it is. I mean, I don't pretend to know exactly how it works, what the mechanics of it are spiritually, but I will just say that you don't ever open yourself as a direct channel to anything unless you're prepared and you know how to safeguard against dark things. So
the way I picture it, it's like, at night, you close and lock your door to your house and whatnot. To me, it's the equivalent of leaving it unlocked and opening the door and just leaving it there all night.
Yeah.
Now, most of the time, like if you live in a good neighborhood, nothing's probably going to happen most of the time. But what if you're wrong? That's why it's good, like in those scenarios, to close the door and lock it. It's the same kind of thing, in my opinion.
Absolutely, it's a great simile to talk about. I mean, it is. You don't leave your wallet out on the table as you go use the bathroom in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Maybe 80% of the time nobody would take it, but what if they do? Then what? Yeah. What do you do? So I just really warn people, look, in esoteric practices, occult and esoteric, and again, occult just means hidden or secretive. It doesn't necessarily mean dark and horrible, but in many esoteric and occult practices, and including the magical systems that are out there, they don't just say, here's a spell, try this. You work up to it through a series of steps, and most of those steps are learning to control your energy, tuning in, learning to connect, learning to enhance your energy and to protect yourself, and so many things. And then after a certain period of time, it's like taking martial arts. You don't start doing jump spinning kicks because you have to work up to it. You have to work up and learn the body mechanics, learn balance, learn how to, operate your body in an efficient and effective manner. You learn power, you learn, the flow of motion, all of these things, that I learned through the years before I was teaching. I mean, they didn't just give me a belt and say, go teach. I learned and then I taught, and I did teach martial arts for a number of years. But in these practices, it's not like you just go and do this. You work up to it because these are spiritual practices. And if you really aren't spiritually aware of yourself, your surroundings, your connection to things, the interconnectionness to you, then you can't control these energies. You just can't. And so it's extraordinarily dangerous, in my opinion, to use these things if you're not aware and if you're not prepared. So, and that even can include ghost investigating. I think it's important. In the same manner, you go in, you prepare first, you say prayers for protection, you maybe wear talismans, you do things to cleanse yourself, and then you go into a ghost investigation. When you're done, you clear any energies that might be following or wandering, and you make statements like, you can't follow me, and you say prayers of cleansing and closing, and whatever your belief system is, you observe that to make sure you're okay. So these kind of stories are absolutely frightening. So I think that was a kind of a really terrifying story, and you don't know. The implication is also, was it something about this dark presences that caused the health to be harmed of these people that lived there? Maybe it was just a natural course of events. It was just their time, but maybe not. Certainly, I wouldn't put it past the realm of possibility that the dark presences infesting that house could have had negative health impacts on the people living there. So, just throwing it out there. I can't pretend to know. and I don't think the person knew. But
that's the scary thing, though. Is like that's something that you can't prove,
Yeah.
But what if that is the case? It's kind of another what if,
Thank you for coming in, Jodis. Appreciate you, and thanks for stopping in and listening in. Hope you had a good time, and hope you come back. Hope you subscribed. All right, so what were you saying? I'm sorry, Sheldon. I was trying to read the text.
I'm just saying that's kind of the scary part of that whole reality is these, it's possible these illnesses would have happened anyway. What if they weren't? And then that's the other half of the reality is that inviting these things directly caused that, but we don't know. There's no way to know. I'm not directly saying that it happened, but it's the what if.
It's the what if. All right, so next up, this has got to be one of the creepiest cryptids to me. Of course, I think seeing a Bigfoot in real life up close and personal would be horrifying. I think it would just maybe reset my whole religion. I don't know. It would just be like, oh my God. I think seeing a dogman would be worse because they're known to be more aggressive and frightening. I think that the crawlers are horrible. I think there's many things out there that to me, I would rather not meet. And I'm not claiming that I love this stuff and I love the inquiry and the intrigue that it provides and maybe the clues to the nature of reality, but that doesn't mean I want to come face to face with a dogman or something. But there's another kind of cryptid that I think freaks me out even more than any of those. And these are the cryptids that are these apparently huge insects like spiders. Spiders, for instance. And that brings us to another Phantoms and Monsters article. The legendary Congolese giant spider Jabafofi, recorded in Mozambique. So I'm here to tell you, I've heard a few stories through the years, not a ton, but there are claims of people seeing spiders about the size of a large dog, or to several, feet in diameter with the leg spans and stuff. And they're very, very rare. They don't come up often. I often think maybe they're more transdimensional, or maybe there's an awareness that's opening up to other realities and maybe they don't actually exist here. But in any case, if there are giant spiders running around, here's the difference for me. If you meet a Bigfoot, there is a consciousness in this Bigfoot, and this consciousness in the Bigfoot is going, yeah, I could smash him into pudding, but if I do that, other people are going to come. It's going to be a real big hassle, so I'm going to walk away. Dogman, I'm just going to get him out of here. I don't like him here. There seems to be a bit of restraint that these beings show, and that seems to suggest at least a cognitive function where they're processing, I don't really want this to get all stupid, but I don't like them here, so get out. But with something like a giant insect, I think, if you look at the insect world, there's basic functions. They eat, they defecate, they hunt, and they create offspring. I mean, it's a real simple series of events. Are they capable of more? Maybe. But generally speaking, insects are these functional biological things that maybe help to create and keep balance in our natural world, and therefore their function is important, but they don't think about things. It's like, well, do I want to take that? It's like food, boom.
Yeah.
They go get it. So that's the problem I have with the idea of there being like giant spiders or something. It's like, why is my leg sticking? You're tugging on this web. Well, something's coming, and it's just going to be ugly. So let's see what this order. Go ahead.
Well, just like if that was a thing, like if you got stuck in their web, especially if they were that giant, you might have an incredibly tough time to not able to get out of that kind of web if they were that big, producing that much web.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's spiders that throw webs. They put them on their arms and then kind of throw them out. There's spiders that can eject venom. so they don't have to like always plunge it. Then maybe they can spit it like a cobra or something. What?
I was going to say MythBusters did a experiment with spider silk, doing strength tests against like steel wiring of the same, thickness, and it was twice as strong.
Yeah. I mean, so if it's as round as a pencil, that's going to be way more than enough to keep you there. Yeah. I mean, you're not going to be able to just pull and break it and stuff, and maybe not even cut it. So I don't know. But a legendary cryptid, Jabafofi, was supposedly caught on camera back in 2014 in Maptauland, Mozambique, by campers. They had heard stories of native villagers coming across giant burrows and seeing giant webs around the area. So they decided to take cameras with them before they tucked in to their tent, and they put the camera on a nearby tree and began recording overnight. In the morning, they were shocked by what they had captured. We'll watch this video too. Comment from D. I briefly participated in missionary work in the Congo in the late 80s, and I can say with my hand on my heart that I and 6 other locals witnessed a Jabafofi scurry across the road / clearing into the bush just 5 feet away from us, about an hour outside of Gamboma. It looked exactly like a long-legged tarantula, but it was about the size of a medium-sized dog, pit bull or something. Of course, everyone I've ever told it says, yeah, sure, just a big spider monkey or sloth, but I know what I saw and feel lucky to have seen it. I remember my first thought was not fear, but just I wish I had a film camera, and the locals were shocked too. I hope they still exist out there. Oh, really?
I give you hope.
I don't know. The Jabafofi is known as the Congolese giant spider. It's a type of large arachnid cryptid said to inhabit the forests of the Congo. Eyewitnesses have stated that the giant arachnids dig a shallow tunnel under the tree roots and camouflage with a large screen of leaves. When they create an almost invisible web between their burrow and the nearby tree, stringing the whole area with a network of trip lines, some oblivious animal that's likely soon to end up on the creature's menu will trip on the line, alerting the spider, and the victim will then be chased into the web. This type of predatory behavior is similar to that of several species of trapdoor spiders. Natives claim the Jabafofi eggs are pale yellow, white, and shaped like peanuts, and the hatchlings are bright yellow with a purple abdomen. Their coloration becomes darker and brown as they mature, and some of the peoples indigenous to the region in the Congo where the Jabafofi has been seen assert that the spider was once quite common but has since become very rare. The very first sighting of the Jabafofi by a Western observer was in the 1890s near Lake Nyassa, during which British missionary Arthur John Symes and his men came upon the creature. His men got themselves tangled in an enormous web, and 2 giant spiders, which were 2 and 4 feet in length, male and female, came out of their web and attacked them. Symes was bitten but managed to escape after shooting one of them with his pistol. He subsequently developed symptoms including a deathly pallor, severe chills and sweating around the area where he was bitten, and became delirious before dropping into unconsciousness, and he ultimately succumbed to the effects and died. The fullest account by Westerners appears in a cryptozoological book by George Eberhardt. R.K. Lloyd and his wife were motoring in the Belgian Congo in 1938 when they saw a large object crossing the trail in front of them. At first they thought it was a cat or a monkey, but they soon realized it was a spider with legs nearly 3 feet. Cryptozoologist Williams Gibbons has hunted for what some think may be a living Congolese dinosaur called the Makele Mbembe. Yeah, it looks like a brontosaurus. It literally translates to like the changer of rivers, like they alter the flow of water when they go through it. They're so big. Wow. On his third expedition in search of the creature, he came upon natives who related their experiences with giant spiders. Well, he shared his experience with the readers upon his return to Canada. On this third expedition to equatorial Africa, I took the opper-tasked knew of such a giant spider, and indeed they did. They speak of the Jabba-Fofi, which is a giant or great spider. They described a spider that is generally brown in color with a purple mark on the abdomen. They grow to quite an enormous size with a leg span of at least 5 feet. The giant arachnids weave together a layer made of leaves similar in shape to a traditional pygmy hut and spin a circular web said to be very strong between 2 trees with a strand stretch across a game trail. These giant ground-dwelling spiders prey on the diminutive forest antelope, birds, and other small game, and are said to be extremely dangerous, not to mention highly venomous. Gibbon states the spiders are said to lay white, peanut-sized eggs in a cluster, and the pygmies give them a wide berth when encountered, but have killed them in the past. The giant spiders were once very common, but are now a rare sight. A video surfaced on YouTube of an alleged Jabba-Fofi caught on a night vision camera near a water hole next to a tree in Mozambique. The Jabba-Fofi appears out of the darkness for a brief moment while scurrying into the darkness on the far right side of the screen. Many of the natives describe the spiders as once being numerous but are now vanishing species. Encroachment by civilization in the form of rainforest being converted to farming land may have driven the spiders from their natural habitats. All right, let's check out this video. What do you say?
Let's do it.
Okay. I don't know what we're looking at here. I'll just kill the sound before I get a copyright strike. But let's see. I'm not sure where it comes in. All right. I hope they give us a red circle. It's no video is complete without a red circle.
True.
Let's see what it pops up. I thought I saw something moving up here, but maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, I see what you're. Yeah, I do see what you're saying.
Anything? Is this me? Am I missing something?
I'm looking as well.
Oh, there.
Oh.
Wait a minute. That's freaking terrifying.
To the right.
It's over here. Oh, my God. Hold on. We're going to go back further. There it comes. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
That looks way too big. I mean,
That
like,
looks
frighteningly big.
But isn't that the point? They're supposed to be frighteningly big.
Oh, God. I just think they knew these things might be in the area, and they're just pitching tents. Now, I don't know. I mean, it's anybody's guess. I can't say that this is legitimate or not, but...
As far as the sentiment goes, I mean, that's terrifying, assuming the story's true and all that.
That's horrible. That is just frightening. There you go.
I know where I'm not going.
Do not go to the Congo, at least without bug spray.
Even then, he might need bear spray.
Maybe that works. Maybe that still works. I don't know. Well, there you go, folks. We saw it here. You saw this video, John says? Okay. Maybe it's a test with several pictures of common animals. One that's a spider. With like a book with a dinosaur photo in the book. Yeah. I don't know what Rachel's talking about.
Didn't see anything. I don't blame you. It's kind of hard to see, even with.
They didn't see it? Who
Nate
didn't? Who?
Nate.
Nate, you didn't see it? It's on the right side. Let's look at it.
Yes.
Just watch under this tree overhang right here. This is where the action is right here where I'm circling with my mouse. And I'll come forward a bit. But watch here. Oh, God. I see why he's not seeing it as well. It's like off the screen.
Oh, I see. I saw the edge of it, but not a whole lot.
Okay, wait. It's bigger.
I thought that... Oh, I see. Okay,
Let me do this. Copy video URL. Let's do this and see if I can resize it to make it a better show for you guys. Sorry, I didn't think about that, but it is. There is some cropping going on here, so
Okay, good. Good.
Let's do
Get a better
this.
view now. Thank you, Nate. I appreciate it.
There we go. This is about the right size now. This is coming from Crypto Dragon UK channel. He's only got 335 subscribers, but check under the tree here. This is where you're going to be focusing. And again, I'll shoot it up a little bit here. There we go. You can see that this is getting to be the good spot. There's a little motion. Here comes something. There it is. It looks almost like a scorpion, doesn't it? Jesus. There it went. There it is, and there it went. Here it is again.
God.
Here it comes. Ugh. Stops. Then it does turn. I mean, if it's CGI, they really did a good job. And I would think if it was CGI, they would have probably made it appear out here somewhere rather than in the shadows, hardly visible. But that's creepy.
That's giant.
That's way too big. Oh, that's freaky. That is freaky.
I see what you mean when you say it does kind of look like a scorpion. Interesting.
Yeah, it kind of does. When you look at it right here, it's like here's the leg area, and it looks like this long abdomen on it or something. But I don't know. It's hard to tell because it's, in the shadow of the trees as well. But that is just the way it turns and starts walking again is so creepy. Oh. I feel bad for anything that gets bitten by those things and eaten. Ugh. Maybe it's a gentle way to die. I don't know. But there you go. So whatever you think, if you think all this stuff is bunk, I don't blame you. It's kind of hard to imagine that there are enormous insects still or arachnids or whatever still out there undiscovered. But this is the Congo. There is still a hell of a lot of wild land out there. And, we do have a tendency in our push to modernize the world to destroy habitat. And as such, maybe even destroying the possibility that these things will still be around. I don't know. But God,
I mean,
you really want them around?
That's the thing. I mean, I hate to say it because a part of me actually loves spiders.
Oh, sure. I do too.
The thing is as they get bigger, my love shrinks a little more, like it gets a little smaller every time. So now you're talking like, 6 feet across, maybe 7 or 8 feet across type of spider. My love is very non-existent anymore. Yeah. And so I don't mind as much if they go extinct.
Yeah. I'll put a video link into the chat. You guys can check it out for yourself. Again, it's an interesting video. I've not seen this one before. I don't know that it's from Crypto Dragon UK, but it's one that he's featuring here. So, it's from 2014 too. So, I guess with newer trail cameras, maybe that would be a much more profound capture, but this is a 2014 trail capture. So those are much older.
I'm watching it on my computer now. Oh God.
Are ya? Yeah.
Yeah. That's, it's a little bit easier to see even, because you're going through feed to feed to feed for it to get to my screen. But oh my God, it's a little just a bit clearer, and yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one.
Rachel said, "I thought you mentioned a test for people living in the Congo, showing people a series of pictures of local animals and one being a giant spider." I don't know. I didn't mention that tonight, but I will tell you when they were investigating things like the Mokele Mbembe, the researchers that have gone there have shown tribal people these books with several animals in it with some dinosaurs. And when they got to the Brontosaurus, they said that's the Mokele Mbembe. Like, these are native, primitive peoples that don't have knowledge of dinosaurs. Like, they just aren't aware of those kind of parts of our history. But they were able to readily identify that animal as being the one that is considered the changer of streams, or the, however it directly translates, but the Mokele Mbembe. And I know that Adam Davis went and did an expedition in the Congo. I wonder if he must have heard something about these giant spiders too. I'll have to ask him next time I talk to him, because I don't know how common these are, but these claims are not new. They're from, the 1900s or just before. So They're obviously, this is old knowledge, but maybe they're just extraordinarily rare now. Or maybe they're almost wiped out. Who knows? It's hard to say. But it's a big spider. Oh, that stuff just kind of freaks me out, Sheldon.
It freaks me out a lot.
And
I didn't know this before, but my mind has been expanded, unfortunately.
Expanded, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, I guess that's going to wrap up our journey for tonight. We went the full 2 hours and 1 minute so far.
Hey, look at that.
Anything in
A
closing?
little bit of overtime.
Little 1 minute of overtime. That's not bad, right?
Not bad, but if you guys want to keep more in touch with us and the community in general, you can join our Discord channel, right, that I've linked right in the chat. Great links in there, great discussion points. If you have, like Dad was saying earlier, if you have trouble using Discord or whatnot, there's a section Discord tutorial just for you. Can give you it's really easy, but it can take some time to get used to because it's a little bit different. But aside from that, another way to get in hold of Dad more especially and to keep up to date with the shows and the links, all the social media links, is the home base, the new home base for the Paranormal Portal, right in the chat, very own website. Got a countdown in there that'll tell you exactly when the next time that the portal is going to go live, as well as there is an interview me section right in there. If you have a story and you want to share it and you want to schedule a date to interview for Dad to interview you and whatnot, there's a button right there and you can schedule date, time, boom, 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 easy. So there you go. Those are all the links to keep more in touch with us, the community in general, and maybe get an interview.
Well, there you go. My job's getting easier and easier, Sheldon. Pretty soon I'll just be able to start the show and go and make a sandwich because you can just do it all. You're doing good, buddy. All right.
Thank you.
Well, that's going to wrap it up for us tonight, guys. Thank you so much for being a part of the journey. We hope you had a good time. If you're new, we'd love to have you subscribe and become a part of what we're doing. Ring the bell so you get the notifications in case you're not going over to paranormalportal.net because there is a countdown timer over there that'll tell you when we're going live. Additionally, one more time, I am taking submissions of your artwork to put on my studio walls. I've received 2 wonderful pieces from listeners so far, and I'd love, no matter what your art ability is, I just think it'd be cool to have reminders of all of you guys in my studio. I'm in here about 14 hours a day, and most of the walls are just barren still. So it'd be neat to put your guys' works up in here just as a constant reminder, like, get busy. We've got shows to do.
Yeah.
No, it's just inspiration because you guys are a big part of this. You guys are family, and I'd love to have little parts of all of you featured.
Beaver.
Beaver? Yeah, beaver. What the hell does beaver mean? I don't want pictures of beaver. Make it paranormal, whether it's ghosts, Bigfoot, Dogman, UFO, or Don, I, or Sheldon, whatever you want to draw. If you want to do something cool with the Paranormal Portal logo, then do that. I don't care. Just whatever moves you. It'd just be neat. And if you go to paranormalportal.net, on the bottom of the page is a P.O. box, and you can send your submissions there. I'd love to have you guys contribute to this. I'm not asking, I don't know. Maybe I'm asking a lot, but it's just, you guys are a big part of my world. And it would be neat to bring you into my world all the time, just piece of you, to be a constant reminder and motivation, to be honest with you. Sometimes it's a lot of work doing this stuff, and it's like, oh, man. But then if I could look up and see those things, it's like, yeah, this is why I do it, because we are a community. So if you don't mind, if you feel so inclined, I'd love it. But Beaver Cryptid, yeah, I don't know. It's the ghost box. I don't know what the hell it's doing. It says beaver. Again, I don't put a lot of stock into the word generation, but it does. Something is triggering that in the EM fields. I don't know what it is, but I don't think they've figured out how to make words that matter. They just spit out words like pancakes. It's like, oh, thanks. What the hell does that mean?
Honestly, it's probably just a translation issue. It's saying one thing and it's taking it to something else. Ghosts are still working out how to use it, probably.
Yeah, well, last night it called me a pansy, so I guess I'll take beaver instead. That didn't even sound right. Sorry.
Rachel, great point. If you come across any paranormal news websites, send Brent a link at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. Thank you, Rachel, for posting that.
Thank you, Rachel. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah. Paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. And yeah, for sure. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for us tonight. So not a lot of activity on the Ghost Radar, just a couple of blurbs, couple words. And you said some dots showed up, or a dot showed up once.
Yeah, so. there's a point earlier. I don't know if I can't remember if it was in the middle of the spider story or the one before it, but there were two of them. There were two blobs, one orange and one yellow, that were both behind you. It looked a bit symmetrical to the left and right below the U.
Oh, okay.
Points. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, whatever the case, I guess we had some company, but anyway, that's all we got time for tonight. So thank you all for being part of the journey. Remember to watch for the podcast. The new episode will be coming out on Monday. Again, you can catch those on YouTube as well, but you can catch them on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Play, Stitcher, Castbox, Pandora, every podcast platform. So wherever you find Sasquatch Chronicles, unless you listen to it on Sasquatch Chronicles, because most of our shows aren't posted over there. But just on the general players, we'd love to have you, of course. If you're on one of the platforms that does allow you to leave a review, if you like what you're hearing, please leave a nice review. That'd be great. That helps us out a ton, because people do value those reviews. They are very powerful in getting new listeners to check out a show. So if you love the show, leave a review. If you hate it, never mind. All right, so that's it, folks. Thank you all for being part of the journey, and we'll be back. Next live show should be Wednesday, but stay tuned for any announcements. Check it out on I would say paranormalportal.net, but I usually put the announcements if there's any schedule changes and stuff on Facebook at Paranormal Portal Radio. So facebook.com/Paranormal Portal Radio. So anyway, that's all we got. So good night. Remember, we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. And we'll see you on Wednesday, hopefully. Spread the word. Bring a friend. That'd be great. And feel free to share these streams. If you want to let people know what we're doing here, that would help the most, because that exposes new people to us all the time. So, all right, guys, love you, and we'll see you next time. Until then,
Good night.
We'll see you.